Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming back at you live. Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com.
Crystal Love, KetoBrick.com.
Boom. And today, the vlog is going to be a little bit different. We want to go ahead and give a little disclaimer here. We're going to be talking about hormones. We're going to be talking about birth control. We're going to be talking about
anything to do with that type of subject. If you have someone around who shouldn't or doesn't want to hear it, then I would suggest turning it off and maybe watching it later on your own. But
not that this should be a sensitive subject matter. No. It's not like we're going to be getting into the weeds of our sex life or anything.
No, we definitely are not. But I know that some people are protective about what maybe their kids would hear or something like that. So we do want to put out this before. So 3, 2, 1, goodbye.
All right, so actually let's just start with Crystal. Give the listeners, viewers, some background on what you have done, because I feel like it's pretty typical with what most females have done as it relates to birth control and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. For some reason, I'm like nervous right now. I think it's just like it's such a personal thing that I've never shared with people, so here we go. Okay, so when I was young, I actually had a really hard time with my period. I had a lot of cramping and it was very painful to the point where when I was 16, I started passing out when I would start cramping. And it was just the fact that my body was not willing to take the cramping. And it sounds crazy, but they couldn't really give me an answer for what was going on. So their way to help me was to put me on a birth control, and I was on a birth control pill, and some of them made me crazy, super emotional, hormonal. I went through several different kinds of pills, and with all different kinds of like estrogen, progesterone, all of that. They were all different levels. So I took them forever, and then none of them were like working correctly, and my cycle was never regular, and people always talk about trying different things and then they like never have a period, and that never happened to me. So I actually was like tired of it, so I actually stopped taking any form of birth control for a short period of time, and it became increasingly painful once again. And so we actually did a surgery, looked for endometriosis, all of that kind of thing, and turned out negative, or that I was fine then. I did have a cyst, we removed that, and I now have a couple more. But I don't believe that is like where my pain's coming from. So they continued to put me on more birth control. I tried the NuvaRing, I've tried more pills, and finally I just said, I'm tired of trying to like take something every single day. Let's just do an IUD. So we did that, and I had that for 2 years, and my cycle has never been regular. I've never been consistent. Up until recently, I've been bleeding more days than not every single month, and this has been going on for a long time.
Real quick, in case any of y'all did not know this, the birth control pills that she was taking prior are just like the simple pills that you take by mouth. The NuvaRing is like this ring that you insert that has the estrogen. What is the actual? It's not estrogen. It's like progesterone or something like that.
Estrogen and progesterone.
Yeah, and then that's in the ring, and that's supposed to sit in there. And you're supposed to
localized.
Yeah, localized. You're supposed to take that in and replace it after every cycle, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then the IUD is, you're probably not going to be able to see it, but it's this little bitty thing right here.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Oh, I don't think people need that close of a view.
Focus. Not in focus.
That's okay. People don't need to see it.
Anyways.
That's what an IUD is.
That is what an IUD is, and there's 3 kinds of the IUD. I don't know how I know this much stuff about this, but there's a copper one that does not have any hormones in it, and then there's two varieties of this kind that do have hormones in it, and that is basically similar to a NuvaRing in the sense that it is localized.
Yeah, and they just insert this into your cervix.
Yeah.
Or in through your cervix. But there are 2 different kinds of this. There's I don't even remember the names of them, but there's one that they suggest for people or women who have had children, or have had other things happening in that area. And then there's this one, which is a lot smaller. It's less invasive, and so they went with that one. So this is actually mine. This is the one that I just removed a couple days ago.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple days ago. And I've been really not wanting to be on anything for a long time. I'm really just hoping that my hormones has changed enough to where I won't have pain anymore. I have no idea what's going to happen within the next few months, if the pain will come back or not. But
there's a couple. I mean, the women's motivation for getting on birth control is oftentimes different from the man's motivation for the woman getting on birth control. But if you stop and think about it for a moment, the fact that you're on birth control in the first place is a very unnatural process. You're putting in so many exogenous hormones into your body that are far removed from your body's natural cycle. Like a female has a cycle for a reason. That's a natural thing. So to try and introduce an exogenous hormone to make that less apparent or remove it completely is far from natural. And the more I learned about hormones and how all these things can have a lasting effect on not only your body but your kids' epigenetics and their kids' epigenetics, it's motivated me to kind of dive more into this and remove all these exogenous sources of hormones.
And I had been wanting to not be on something for quite some time, and it took me a little bit to kind of think about really removing this and what it would mean for me. So I actually ended up listening to Allie Miller's podcast. I believe it's
106 and 107.
106 and 107, and I highly, highly recommend you guys listen to this. They're very knowledgeable on this subject. I'm definitely not an expert, but just listening to that and knowing what I have known, I immediately came home and removed it. If it's even a doubt in your mind that you want to stop taking it or removing yours or whatever it may be, find another alternative and do it, because that's really going to be your best option. I have been on something for 11 years, and that's an extremely long time for a female to be on something and not ever have had a child. You don't know the effects that it'll take when you're trying to conceive, and so there's a lot that goes into it, and I hope that I will encourage anybody to just not just don't do it, but find better alternatives.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, overall health of her and her ability to have kids, if we decide to go that route, is of paramount importance. And adding in these exogenous hormones can have a negative effect towards that. So I am in full support and favor of removing them. Which leads us to our next topic of discussion, which I don't know how we can make a smooth transition there, but what are some alternatives to this so you don't get pregnant? If you want to still do things, but you don't want to conceive and have a child just yet, there is still things that you can implement to ensure that does not happen, which is what we're going to talk about next.
Okay. Well, first, let's talk about this one. This one's the one that I don't think many people know. I didn't
know about this. I got excited about this.
I think some people know, but not many people do. So this is called the Daysy, Daysy. And if you actually go to Allie Miller's website where she has her podcast notes, there's a $20 off on there. And I highly suggest that because they are a little bit pricey, but they do last for years and years.
It was, I think, $330, I believe.
$330 with the $20 off, and then plus the shipping, it came to $318. So this is a little thermometer. And just has a little cover, and what you do is you just press this button, you put it under your tongue.
Under your tongue.
We didn't try it anywhere else.
Yes, we'll clarify there.
But just like a regular thermometer. Now, during different parts of your cycle, your temperature will be a little bit higher or a little bit lower, and this thing is able to tell that. So it actually has 3 little dots. One will be for when you're fertile, when you're not fertile, and then when it's kind of up in the air. Mostly that happens when it's just learning your body. So when you are not fertile, that is when it's, safe to do whatever you need to do.
Or want to do.
And then when you're fertile, you can either choose to not do that, or you can choose to, if you guys are ready, then have a baby or try to.
Yeah, it's a basal thermometer. And I also want to point out that the basal thermometer is very, very accurate. It measures very minute changes in your body's temperature.
Very minute, like the point something, like
right.
0.25.
So don't try doing this with a normal household thermometer, because that would not be the degree of accuracy you want. You want to be consistent with checking this. Ideally, leave it on your nightstand. Check it first thing every morning.
First thing every morning within a 3-hour time period of the time you do it every day. Allow
your body to get a good baseline. But this is pretty cool, y'all. Like I'm excited about this because it's a thermometer. There's no exogenous hormones involved. There's no unnatural process taking place. You're literally just checking your thermometer or checking your temperature every single morning, and then it notates to you whether you are likely to have. Because I have to go back and listen to our podcast, but basically, the egg is fertile and alive for 48 hours. Sperm can live for 5 days. So there's a 6-day window there in which you can get pregnant. So that the thermometer and whatnot is checking to see what your body's basal temperature is, to see if that falls within that 48-hour period of you being pregnant, or that egg being fertile.
And then it gives and then it gives you like extra days surrounding those, so there isn't a chance that you'll get pregnant.
So if it measures green when it's not in that 6-day window. So if you're active and in that green, on one of those green days, you should be good to go. If it's red, then you have the possibility of getting pregnant. So take matters into your own hands there. And if it's yellow, it's unsure, so be safe.
The cool thing about this is you can actually also plug it into your iPhone or your iPad, or I think it does Android as well. You plug it in there and it will actually tell you, because on this it doesn't tell you your temperature. You would have to plug it in, sync it together. You sync it every day. It tells you your temperature. You can actually put on there what your if you were on your period, if you were active that day, and so on and so forth. You can put in different things so you can actually see how your cycle is, what days you've been fertile, what days you haven't, if you're pretty regular, how long is your actual cycle. So different things like that, it's really helpful for.
Yes. This podcast this is kind of going a little long here, but I wanted to just vocalize that this is relevant and exciting because, we're all keto. We're all trying to perform to the best of our ability and optimize our overall health. So we manipulate our nutrition and our foods to do just that. But that combined with, making sure your hormones are in check, it's all symbiotic in nature. It all goes hand in hand. So it's exciting for me to have this as an alternative to, adding in unnatural things to the body. Mm-hmm. It's going to be better for her long-term health. It's going to be better for her. It's going to be better for our children's health by not having all that additional hormones come into place. And it's just going to help things become much more regulated, much more natural, and much more like it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm in full support of it. We're not paid or endorsed by
not at
Daisy
all.
Thermometers or
Ali Miller or anything like
or
that.
Or IUDs. So just take that into consideration and do with it what you will. But yeah, we just got this the other day, so we're getting a baseline established. It takes a couple months for her body to regulate after getting off of the exogenous hormones. So she's still in that regulating phase, but we'll get a baseline.
Yeah. Also, I would like to throw out there that I'm hoping that I don't really have any real symptoms of removing the IUD or hormones from my system. If anything, I hope it's positive, but I have heard of other people just stopping immediately, and it does cause them to have some symptoms, and some people are more susceptible to feeling those than others. So if we do, we might do like another catch-up video in a little bit and see, if I do notice any differences. So far, it's only been a couple days and I feel totally fine. And then I would like to, in the near future, have an appointment and just kind of see where my actual hormones are currently. So that way between now and my next competition and future children and all of that, where I stand and what I need to do to help my body, do what it needs to do naturally.
Perfect. Takeaways here: be natural, be normal.
Yep.
Let your body do what it's designed to do, and practice safe sex.
Robert.
See y'all next time.